Story Ave, also known as the Kmart property. We talked at our last meeting, I think Bob brought this up specifically, that it would be appropriate for the trust to, express its support. And Andy kindly drafted this letter. I've taken a little time to review it. I think it's great as written, but I'm open to any suggestions that other people want to make, and then to discuss possible next steps if members of the trust want to proceed with approving it. We would want to take a vote to approve the letter. So I'll open it up for discussion.
Okay, I have a point. This is Bob Courier. I think Andy did a tremendously perfect job of addressing the issue to the ZBA. He made a decision not to include the 30% and just stick to the 60% and the 80% of the AMI. I think that makes much more sense. It's a more conservative approach, and it would be probably far better received by the ZBA. And then we can go from there. But I think it's an excellent letter as presented in the way he did it.
Great.
Bob, I do think, sorry to interrupt, Madeline. I do think it does say in there 60% and lower. I forget the exact language. I don't have it in front of me. But so, I mean, in theory, it does open up for the possibility of lower, spectrums of affordability. But you're probably right, Bob. I don't know that we're going to get them to do anything in the range of 30% even at all. But we'll see.
That's correct. I agree with you. And that's why I'm very supportive of the way the letter was written. And we just stuck to the 60%. If we can do that, that would be a step in the right direction.
I would agree with both Bob and Drew. I think it's a wonderfully written letter. I believe it was Drew who wrote it, not Andy, just to give credit where credit is due.
Did I
Drew.
say Andy?
Yeah.
I think I
Thank
said
you
Drew.
for clarifying that. Andy Shapiro deserves the credit. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if this letter gets poorly received, we can say Andy wrote it. Okay. How about that?
Yeah. Right.
I apologize for my mistake. It's Mr. Shapiro wrote the letter.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, and I would just add, I would accept it as is. I don't see any need for any changes personally.
No,
I concur.
I think we all concur.
Okay, so it seems to me that the ZBA is moving fairly, they're advancing their review. So I thought that it would be appropriate not to wait till our next meeting on the 29th. I sort of wanted to get a letter out to the ZBA. But I'm interested to hear from Andy Port, what your sense of the timeline for the ZBA's review process, and also whether you think that the letter in some form should go somewhere other, in addition to the ZBA.
The only things that I would offer to that, I guess, is I do think the timing is good. I know there might have been a question, and there is for everybody, about when to chime in on this type of permitting or project. I do think in the context here is good timing for the trust to chime in. There is still sort of a month or more of permitting process under the statutory timeframe that we might expect to be used by the board. But I think it's good timing. The board is actually having a heavy or more substantive meeting on the 28th. And so I think it is good timing for them to have those sort of comments coming in, because that, for all intents and purposes, it is coming down to, a shorter time frame. It's only a matter of weeks. It's only a few meetings, so to speak, to work out any remaining issues, so to speak. So I do think it's good timing. I think it's a great letter. I think it's great support. One thing I do think is worth everybody understanding, and I defer to you whether you want to include it in the, you know, sort of emphasize it any further in the letter here. But it seems like there might be some misunderstanding about out there, sort of about the relationship of a friendly 40B or the development agreement that was executed as a additional layer of sort of, you know, city interest being addressed and so forth. And I mentioned that only because the rental component, you know, isn't necessarily a guarantee under the 40B process, you know, with a, and people don't necessarily understand out there right now that under 40B, that, you know, there could be an application directly to the ZBA. In this particular instance, there are some additional protections that are aligned with the housing trusts, you know, established and identified housing needs in Newburyport for, you know, a couple of housing production plans now, I think, and including the rental needs. So I think in addition to the affordability, in addition to the rental, you know, component and all the other, you know, sort of things that come along with the project, I just offer that those things, that kind of note stands out to me, is that people may not understand because of the complexity of 40B, for instance, or what a development agreement is or what a friendly 40B is. They may not understand those things, but I do think, to your question, it's a good timing for the support letter to the ZBA.
Well, I mean, I think the letter as drafted makes it clear that one of the reasons why we're supportive is because it's rental, and it, you know, mentions that we've been losing rental stock. So, you know, I mean, I don't know that there's any.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to suggest anything should be added to the letter. I think the letter is great as is. I just
Okay.
yeah, sorry. More just perhaps for context, only because that's the component of, say, the housing production needs of the city that is addressed not through necessarily a direct 40B permitting, but through the development agreement. And here we see the benefits from this project of those rental units, if you will. But I definitely agree this letter is great as is.
Yeah, good.
Just
Should
one
this
other
go
note
to
on
anyone?
that.
Go ahead, Drew.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say one other note on that, and maybe it's a little cynical, but I think that some people who might be, you know, the only other thing about sort of being, and I understand why Andy's saying that. Andy, you know, you're making a good point, but I do think that there's some folks out there who oppose the project who might not necessarily care whether they're rental or condominiums. They're more in the camp of, we don't really want to see this type of development as densely built in that location due to factors like traffic and what it could do to city services and things like that. So, and as a matter of fact, some people might even prefer to see them being as condominium units. Again, being a little cynical here, because maybe the population who would reside in a condominium versus a rental housing unit might, to some people, feel more comfortable to them. So I guess I'm going to stay away from that kind of discussion. I think I'm just going to fall on the idea of you know, we need more rental housing units. This project gets us there. It provides, you know, a certain level of affordability, and we appreciate that. And you know, and obviously all the reasons that we state in the letter and how it aligns with the housing production plan. I think we're in pretty good shape there, I would think.
I agree. Thank you.
Yeah, Karen.
I wondered if well, first of all, I wondered if this should go anywhere other than the ZBA, such as the council, Madeline, I think you had mentioned to me, the Planning and Development Committee. Should this be going elsewhere, or should it be copied elsewhere?
Sorry that Andy didn't address that. I just offer that the planning board, for instance, had commented on the project. They offered their own comments more about the plan design, and they decided to copy the city council. That might be, you know, reasonable here in context as well. You know, and obviously the mayor, you know, as a member of the trust, he was going to get a copy and is aware of it already. But I think the city council would make sense, at least as a minimum.
So, is there a timing element for getting it in the city council packet?
No, just looking at the city council's regular meetings, it's really a question of getting it in, you know, sort of the Tuesday before an upcoming meeting. So, you know, I'd have to check at I'm sorry, I don't have the calendar right in front of me at the moment. But it's basically just a question of whatever meeting you're sending it in for. I don't know that the council really has a direct role that they'd be stepping into here for the permitting of the project, but I do think it's really good context for them to be aware of the comments here, that are being sent to the ZBA, and they're important in the overall context. So irrespective of any of that, and irrespective of the fact that we're approaching sort of the end of a term of the council, so to speak, I do think it's still worthwhile them, receiving your comments.
Okay. And that's something that Caitlin, you and Andy could do for us. If we vote tonight to approve it, then issuing the letter to the ZBA and copying the city council.
Yep, we'll coordinate that as usual. Yep.
Can I ask one other logistical question? So it's a two-parter. One is, if we're going to do that, can Caitlin and or Andy, can you guys just type in that we're CCing the city council in the CC line? If that, I know that seems like a little nitpicky, but just on the letter itself, just noting that we're CCing them. And then also, I note that Barb is not here, and the way that I signed the letter off, I say the undersigned members of the Affordable Housing Trust. And I did that specifically just so everyone knows, because I know that Sean is technically a part of the trust. I believe he can vote, right? He's a voting member. So I just wanted to make it clear that I don't know. I didn't know if he was going to be here. I don't know if he was going to vote as a trust member. I didn't really know how that was going to operate. So I wanted to be sort of deliberate in showing, these are the members of the vote, and then give the opportunity for someone to opt out and not vote in favor of it if they wanted to. Given that Barb is not here, I'm wondering if we should take her name off or just sign it members of the Affordable Housing Trust and not put specific names. I'll leave that to you guys to decide. I just wanted to point that out.
I would lean towards the latter if it were me, but I defer to you all.
What? Tell me what the latter is. I'm sorry, it's been a long day.
Just referring to it as, by the trust as a body, recognizing that a majority of the use of the body, has decided to send the communication, because I think it's hard here to sort of juggle, is it fair or unfair to someone who wasn't here? They might have wanted to support it. They might have, for some reason, not wanted to.
Right.
Whether the mayor is part of that or not, it's just simpler to me in that context. You could just put in the CC line, mayor, city council, which is effectively what the planning board did. But again, defer to you all.
And I think we should be very careful to make sure that this letter is signed by all the members of the Affordable Housing Trust and no outside public period, other people, period.
Right.
Yeah, Bob, I think what we're saying is, so what I think we're going to do is just have the line just say at the end, all members or just, a majority of them, or it would just say
The trust, the
the
city.
Affordable Housing Trust. It would just say the Affordable Housing Trust. And because we're voting for it,
and we can copy the city council.
And we're copying both the city council and the mayor.
Correct.
I think that's
Exactly.
good. Just taking off the
Keep it
names.
as simple as possible.
Yeah.
So Andy or Caitlin, you can make that change to the letter.
Yeah, the only question, I guess, for you all is some boards, if there's a physical copy, being signed and scanned and uploaded, like the planning board, just the chair signing that. So we can make edits to whatever documents are needed. It's a question of how you want to do a signatory, so to speak, or reference on that end.
Well, this is Bob Courier. I think the chairman should sign it, period, for all of us.
Well, I can stop by Thursday morning and sign.
Okay, perfect.
That sounds good to everybody? Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Does someone want to make a motion to vote on this letter?
I'll motion
do we need to do that? I don't know.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
I'll motion that the Affordable Housing Trust.
Everyone, I just wanted to know Barb Cullen just arrived. So I'm just giving you a note that she just arrived.
Okay, and thanks, Caitlin. I didn't take the time to make sure that everybody knew that we have a new member of the trust, Barb Cullen, and we're going to welcome her into our fold at our next meeting on the 29th. This right now I feel like it'll be much better next week when we're hopefully all meeting in person. and we can, go around the room and introduce ourselves. I feel like this meeting tonight really just had one specific agenda item, and it's not the ideal opportunity for us to introduce ourselves. So, but welcome, Barb. And I don't know whether, as a new member, Caitlin, I think you had said you weren't sure she was actually able to vote yet if she's not sworn in. Is that true?
That is true. Hi Barb. Have you had a chance to get sworn in today or yesterday afternoon?
I had to do the ethics class first, and I only saw that link today for the first time. So
Okay.
I need to do that before I can be sworn in.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Well, that simplifies matters.
Yes.
But welcome, Barb, and we
Thank
look
you so
forward to
much.
seeing you next week
Thank
at
you.
the senior center in person.
Yeah.
Okay. So Drew, did you make a motion?
I was in the process of doing it. So yeah, I would make a motion to approve the letter as written with some minor formatting changes as noted in the discussion to be made by staff, and to have it signed by Madeline Nash and sent to the ZBA and with the city council copied and mayor copied.
I second that motion, Bob Courier.
Any further discussion, Barb? You missed our, earlier conversation, perhaps. I'm not sure when you actually started listening, but have you had a chance to see the letter?
I did read the letter, yes.
Anything you want to say?
So this is just jumping into the fire. And I read it after I spoke to Caitlin, which I think was today. It might have been yesterday. And kind of jumped in. So there's things I didn't know because I'm, wasn't involved in any of this kind of planning or information about that project. So it made me have questions about like, oh, I wonder how many units are deemed affordable. And there was a question raised of could you do it for at a lower price, a lower affordability price point as well. And then I just had, I don't know, we're being recorded, so I don't want to say this, but I worried about, how many total units it's going to be and how that'll affect our infrastructure of like traffic and water, but only because I don't know any details. So I just made me have a few questions.
That's fine. So just with a 40B project, the developer has to do a minimum of 25% income restricted at 80% AMI.
Great,
So
that's great.
yeah, it's good for the city, and that's what. And so the letter really is saying that the trust is expressing its support for the project and not opining on traffic or impact on services. Where our job is to, as an affordable housing trust, to offer our expertise on housing, especially as it relates to affordability. And we refer to our recently adopted or updated housing production plan, which very clearly states that the city has been losing its rental housing inventory and that we have an affordability problem, and that we also have a lot of housing, which is, we have a lot of people who are overhoused, especially seniors. We have a growing senior population. And we also, many seniors have mobility limitations. So, I mean, these are things we all know, but it quantifies it and it, puts it into an official document that the trust can refer to when we're, looking at a project and being asked, do we support this or don't we support this? So that's what the letter is about. It's not commenting on all the other things the ZBA has to consider. It's really laser focused on affordable housing needs as we see it and referring to the housing production plan. So any other discussion?
I think you're right on.
Shall we vote? All in
Sure.
favor?
Aye.
I-
Aye.
Bob Courier, aye.
Aye.
I do think we have to do a roll call vote on
Okay.
Zoom. I'm just,
Okay.
I don't know if I'm being overly formal. I'm just going to putting my municipal
Let's-
hat on here.
Let's do it. I'll start. Madeline Nash voting in favor.
Bob Courier voting in favor.
Drew Shapiro voting in favor.
Elaine Nickerson voting in favor.
Aaron Weiner voting in favor.
Thank you. So I really appreciate everyone getting together at short notice for us to be able to take this vote. And like I said, I'll stop by the planning office on Thursday morning to sign, and we can talk about it all the more we might want to on the 29th when we meet. And we'll have a chance to meet Barb in person.
Sounds
Anything
good to
else?
me.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank
Right.
you, everybody.
All
Take
right,
care.
meeting adjourned. 6:24. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Thanks so
thank
much.
you.
See you
Bye-bye.
next week.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Do you know how to get off? I said leave, and I'm done.